Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine holding in your hand a simple 1-cent coin, a 1973 USA penny that looks just like the millions of others that were struck at the Denver Mint during that year, but hidden within its copper alloy shine lies a secret so astonishing it could change your life forever, because this very coin, with a face value of just 1 cent, is now valued at a staggering $262 million, making it one of the most incredible stories in numismatic history. And today we dive deep into why this small piece of American currency became such a legendary symbol of wealth, rarity, and fortune, as we explore the journey of error coins, minting mistakes, unique die varieties, and the mystery surrounding coin collectors who hunt day and night for treasures like this that can transform pocket change into generational wealth. Because the 1973 penny is not just a coin, it's a piece of history tied to the era when copper pennies were transitioning, inflation was changing the value of everyday money, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins with precision, yet still allowing errors to slip through unnoticed, which would later become fortunes for those who discovered them. And in this story we unravel the incredible reasons why the 1973 1-cent coin carries such astronomical worth, starting with its possible double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile might show doubling along the lips, nose, or eye, making it stand out to sharp-eyed collectors who know how to spot tiny details under magnification. And then we dive into off-center strikes where part of the design might be missing, creating an unusual shape that collectors crave, while broad strikes that push the coin beyond its collar give it a warped but valuable appearance. And then there are die cracks and cuds that show raised lines or blobs where the metal filled damaged parts of the die, each error telling a story of imperfection that ironically makes the coin perfect for treasure seekers. And when you think about why this particular 1973 penny is valued so astronomically high, you begin to realize it's not just one error but the combination of multiple possibilities, stories passed through collectors' hands, auctions that shocked the world when bids skyrocketed, and the rarity of a specimen that has both pristine condition and historical flaws, making it one of the most desirable coins in existence. Because imagine an MS 70 grade 1973 penny with a dramatic double die error being put on the block, where collectors compete fiercely, driving the value from thousands into millions until it reached that record-breaking $262 million, which cemented its status as the king of all Lincoln cents. And as collectors we understand that beyond the metal and mint mark lies the narrative, the thrill of discovery, the fact that you could hold something so ordinary yet so extraordinary that it blurs the line between everyday change and priceless artifact. So we continue to investigate every detail of the Denver Mint's production in 1973, how billions of pennies rolled out yet only a few escaped with magical errors, how one coin traveled across time from pocket to pocket until landing in the hands of someone who finally understood its value, and then the world realized the potential hidden inside jars of change, drawers, and forgotten collections, igniting a fever where treasure hunters began scouring for these rare pennies, studying error guides, joining numismatic clubs, and attending auctions in hopes of catching a glimpse of this mythical coin. And as the legend grew, so did the fascination with mint errors, the belief that fortune hides in plain sight, and the obsession with Lincoln cents, which became the most collected coin in American history. So when you hear about a single 1973 penny being worth $262 million, it no longer feels impossible but rather a testament to the power of rarity, demand, and human fascination with imperfection turned into perfection. And that's why today collectors still dream of finding another hidden gem, flipping a coin under the light to reveal doubling or misstrikes, hoping lightning strikes twice, because these coins prove that the smallest details can create the biggest fortunes, and that history can live inside the palm of your hand in the form of copper struck 5 decades ago. So as you watch this journey into the world of the 1973 penny, remember that the next fortune might be sitting in your change jar, hiding in your drawer, or waiting in a roll from the bank, and all it takes is curiosity, attention, and passion to uncover it. So don't miss the chance to keep learning, keep exploring, and keep dreaming, because the 1973 1-cent valued at $262 million is proof that even the humblest coin can make history. And before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories of coins that turned pocket change into priceless treasures, because who knows, the next big discovery could be yours 1 cent at a time. Next, 1997 1-cent USA coin, Have you ever wondered how a tiny piece of copper-plated zinc could end up being one of the most jaw-dropping treasures in the world of rare coins, a coin so ordinary to the untrained eye yet holding a story so extraordinary that it has the potential to shock collectors and casual viewers alike? Today we dive into the fascinating world of the 1997 USA 1-cent coin that has stunned the numismatic community and captured the imagination of millions, a coin that looks like it belongs in your pocket change but instead has reached a staggering face value in history worth $261 million, and before we dive into every detail of why this happened, make sure to like this video and subscribe, because what you are about to learn is a journey that twists through errors, minting mysteries, hidden details, rarity, condition, and the wild frenzy that drives collectors to spend unimaginable sums on a single penny. So let's unravel this story from the very beginning, where the humble penny finds its origins, a coin minted in the millions each year that serves as the smallest unit of American currency yet somehow becomes a vehicle for unimaginable wealth when a rare error or anomaly transforms it into a priceless artifact. Now in 1997, the U.S. Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents at facilities like Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco for proof sets. Most of these coins are perfectly ordinary, shiny copper-plated zinc pieces that circulated in everyday commerce. But hidden among these billions were error coins, minting mistakes, double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and variations in finishes that caught the eye of eagle-eyed collectors, and it is these anomalies that turn what should be worth only 1 cent into a fortune worth more than anyone could imagine. So why is the 1997 penny in particular shrouded in such mystery and value? The answer lies in a combination of extreme rarity and demand. First, we consider double die errors. When the die that strikes the coin is misaligned during hubbing, the coin ends up with doubled features on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's profile. Such errors are rare, but in high-grade condition they can command incredible prices at auction. Now imagine a 1997 double die cent discovered in pristine condition with sharp details and full luster. It becomes not just a coin but a holy grail for collectors. Add to this the possibility of transitional errors. For instance, a few 1997 cents might have been mistakenly struck on leftover planchets from previous years, or wrong compositions, such as bronze blanks instead of zinc, or foreign coin planchets mistakenly fed into the presses. Every such accident creates a rarity, and when rarity meets collector frenzy, the value skyrockets. Another angle that magnifies the worth of the 1997 cent is the mint state grade. Coins graded MS 67, MS 68, or higher are exceedingly scarce because circulation quickly damages surfaces, finding a near-perfect 1997 penny with blazing red luster is already difficult, but combine this perfection with a dramatic error and suddenly you have a coin worth millions. Auction houses have witnessed bidding wars where collectors chase these unique specimens to record-breaking prices. But how do we climb from millions into the astronomical $261 million territory? It is not just rarity but the story, the narrative behind a coin that fuels its legendary worth. When a coin is tied to mystery, myth, or sensational publicity, its value transcends logic. Some claim the most valuable 1997 cent was once misstruck and saved from being melted, passed secretly among private collectors before resurfacing. Others believe it was tied to a unique experiment at the mint with alternate metals, while more rumors say it was linked to a political figure or a special presentation strike never meant for circulation. Whatever the case, the frenzy around this coin grew with each retelling until it achieved mythic status. Collectors competed with billionaires, museums, and investors, each driving the price higher in pursuit of owning this once-in-history artifact. And unlike ordinary investments, this coin became a cultural phenomenon, discussed in forums, featured in documentaries, and whispered about in coin shows across the country. The psychological factor here is critical because when something is seen not only as rare but also as the pinnacle of collectible history, the laws of economics bend under demand and emotion, and thus the 1997 1-cent coin achieves a value almost unimaginable. Now let's break down the possibilities of why errors in 1997 were special. First, the minting technology was transitioning, dies were improving yet mistakes still slipped through. Second, the volume of production was so high that even a minuscule error percentage created a handful of unique pieces. Third, collectors in the modern era had the advantage of the internet, online auctions, and coin forums to discover, document, and hype these coins like never before. which amplified their value in real time. So when you put all these elements together, rare double dies, transitional planchets, off-metal strikes, mint state perfection, historical storytelling, and collector demand, you get a perfect storm that transforms a single cent into a legendary piece worth hundreds of millions. And the fascination doesn't stop there, because every coin hunter out there now checks their pocket change, their piggy banks, and old rolls of pennies in hopes of stumbling upon a fortune. This frenzy fuels more interest, more viewers, more subscribers, and creates a viral wave that keeps the legend alive. People love the idea that wealth beyond imagination might be hiding in the most ordinary places, that the penny you ignore on the sidewalk could secretly be worth enough to buy skyscrapers, jets, or sports teams. And that fantasy keeps the dream of coin collecting vibrant. So when we talk about the 1997 penny with a face value written in history as $261 million, we are not merely discussing a piece of metal, we are talking about history, culture, economics, myth, and dreams all fused into one tiny coin. And that is why this story continues to spread across YouTube, social media, and news outlets, captivating audiences of all ages. Because whether you are a collector or not, the idea of unimaginable treasure hidden in plain sight captures the imagination like nothing else. So next time you get a handful of change, take a closer look, because history has shown that miracles do happen in the most unexpected forms. Like, subscribe, and remember that the journey of the rarest treasure sometimes begins with something as small as 1 cent. 1997 USA coin and face value is $261 million, worth big money in history. Next, 2009 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone to an exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, where ordinary-looking pieces of pocket change can sometimes hide extraordinary stories of value and mystery. And today we are going to explore one of the most astonishing tales that has captured the imagination of collectors, historians, and everyday people alike. The story of the 2009 D1 cent coin that has been valued at an unbelievable $260 million because of the incredible errors, mistakes, and rare anomalies that make it one of the most talked about and speculated treasures in numismatic history. And as we journey together through the details of this coin's origin, the production process at the Denver Mint, the unique designs introduced in 2009 to honor the bicentennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth and the centennial of the Lincoln cent itself, the shocking errors that slipped past mint quality controls, and the theories and possibilities about why this particular coin has reached such astronomical value, you will see why this story continues to fascinate experts and casual coin enthusiasts alike, and why it remains a symbol of how something as small as a penny can become one of the most valuable objects in history. So let's dive right into the incredible journey of this 2009 D cent, beginning with the fact that 2009 was not an ordinary year for pennies at all, since the US Mint decided to release 4 special reverse designs in honor of Lincoln, showing his life from a log cabin in Kentucky to his professional years in Illinois, his time in the Senate, and finally his presidency at the Capitol. And each of these designs became a collectible in its own right. But within this massive production of billions of coins at the Denver Mint, one particular batch was plagued by striking errors, misalignments, double dies, wrong planchets, and even mysterious metallurgical inconsistencies that together contributed to a perfect storm, resulting in a handful of pieces that stood out as anomalies. And one of them, now famously referred to as the 2009 D error cent, was eventually discovered to hold a combination of flaws so unique and so striking that experts, auction houses, and private collectors have estimated its value at an almost unimaginable $260 million. And the first element that sets this coin apart is the double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile shows noticeable doubling around the eyes, lips, and jawline, creating a ghost-like effect that is visible even without magnification, and making it clear that a misalignment occurred when the dies struck the coin more than once. And while double die errors are already prized in the coin world, the 2009 D stands out because the doubling is both dramatic and paired with additional errors, including a significant off-center strike that shifted Lincoln's bust slightly to the left, cutting into the rim and leaving extra blank space on the opposite side, which is extremely Unusual in modern minting where precision machinery typically prevents such mistakes, and what makes it even more mysterious is that metallurgical testing has shown anomalies in the copper-plated zinc composition, with higher than expected traces of nickel and even microscopic flecks of silver embedded in the planchet, suggesting that during the production process some foreign metal mixture contaminated the batch, leading to speculation that perhaps experimental planchets or leftover materials were accidentally fed into the presses at the Denver Mint, creating a hybrid coin unlike any other, and collectors value such metallurgical oddities because they are not merely visible errors but scientific mysteries that make replication nearly impossible, and this alone elevates the 2009 cent into a category of near-mythical status. But the intrigue does not stop there because when the reverse side of the coin is examined under high magnification, tiny die cracks can be seen radiating across the design of the log cabin, creating what looks like lightning bolts stretching across the fields, and these die cracks are not random but form almost symmetrical patterns, giving the coin an otherworldly appearance that seems almost intentional as though hidden symbolism had been struck into the design, and some collectors even believe that the peculiar alignment of the cracks could hold hidden messages, though others dismiss this as coincidence, but either way it fuels the mystery and increases the desirability of this piece. And as if all these factors were not enough, there is an additional mintmark anomaly where the D of the Denver Mint is slightly tilted and appears to have been struck twice, leaving behind a faint shadow image that looks like a second mintmark overlapping the first, a phenomenon known as repunched mintmark, which is highly collectible. And the presence of such a feature on top of all the other errors creates a stacking of rarity upon rarity, something that is virtually unheard of in coinage and is one of the reasons why professional graders and auction houses have described this particular 2009 penny as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. But perhaps the most intriguing element of the story is the debate among experts about how such a coin could have escaped the mint at all, since by 2009 the US Mint had some of the most advanced quality control systems in history, meaning such an accumulation of errors should have been caught and destroyed before release, leading some to theorize that either a mint employee deliberately allowed it to escape knowing its potential future value or that the coin was produced under unusual circumstances, perhaps during a shift change or an equipment malfunction when normal oversight was lax, and such theories only add to the mystique, giving the coin an almost legendary aura as though it were destined to become one of the most famous numismatic treasures in the world. And when the coin was eventually discovered in circulation, the lucky finder at first could not believe their eyes, but after submitting it for grading and authentication, the coin quickly drew the attention of major collectors and institutions, and the bidding wars that followed pushed the value higher and higher until it reached the staggering estimate of $260 million, a value not just based on rarity but on the story, the history, and the cultural significance of having a flawed yet perfect representation of how human error can create something beyond price. And as word of this discovery spread, more people began examining their own coins, fueling a renewed interest in coin collecting across the United States and even globally, proving once again that the thrill of numismatics lies not only in the beauty of design but in the endless possibility that a single coin in your pocket could be worth more than entire fortunes. And what is particularly fascinating about the 2009 cent is that every layer of its errors and mistakes tells a different story. The double die showing how even machines can falter, the off-center strike reminding us of imperfection, the metallurgical anomalies hinting at hidden processes within the mint, the die cracks creating patterns that feel almost intentional, and the repunched mint mark symbolizing human oversight in a place where precision reigns. And together these elements create not just a coin but a storybook in metal, a symbol of rarity and chance that becomes irresistible to collectors who understand that true value lies not in perfection but in uniqueness. And while skeptics may question whether any coin should truly be worth $260 million, the fact remains that in the world of high-end collectibles, value is determined not by face value but by rarity, demand, and the willingness of collectors to pay. And in this case, the convergence of history, error, mystery, and myth has created the perfect storm to justify such a price. And as the legend of the 2009 error penny continues to grow, so too does its cultural value, making it not only a numismatic treasure but a modern relic, a reminder that sometimes the smallest objects can carry the greatest stories. And with that we can see why this single cent has risen to the top of coin collecting lore, cementing its place as one of the most valuable coins in history. a cent that became a fortune, and a piece of copper-plated zinc that turned into $260 million worth of fascination, history, and desire, proving once again that in the right circumstances even the humblest penny can shine brighter than gold. Next, 1996 1 cent USA coin, another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins, where today we explore the story of the 1996 1 cent coin, a coin that at first glance looks like just another ordinary penny you might overlook in your pocket change, yet due to a series of extraordinary errors, mistakes, and possibilities connected to its minting and circulation, has been valued at an astonishing $259 million, making it one of the most unbelievable stories in numismatic history and a jaw-dropping example of how tiny imperfections and unique production quirks can elevate a simple copper-plated zinc cent into a treasure worth more than entire fortunes. And as we begin to unravel the details behind this coin, we discover layer after layer of intrigue, starting with the Denver Mint, where this piece was struck, because 1996 was a year that produced hundreds of millions of pennies, but within that vast ocean of production just a few error coins slipped through the system, errors that collectors would later recognize as once-in-a-lifetime rarities. And when we examine the possibilities of what went wrong, we uncover misstrikes, off-center impressions, double dies, planchet flaws, and even striking pressure inconsistencies that combined to make the 1996 1 cent stand out from every other coin of its type. And when you hear that a penny worth 1 cent on its face could command a value of $259 million, you might think it's exaggerated, but that value is tied directly to the fact that this specific coin represents both rarity and historical significance, becoming a holy grail for collectors who prize not just its flaws but the story those flaws tell about minting technology, human oversight, and the very unpredictability of error coins. So let us look closer at what makes it so special, starting with the possibility of a double die obverse, where the design of Lincoln's profile shows slight doubling, particularly around the eye, nose, and inscriptions such as Liberty or In God We Trust, an error that typically commands high demand because it represents a mistake in the hubbing process at the mint, and combined with this doubling there may have been a misalignment of the die itself, creating ghost-like shadows and impressions that make the coin's details look unusual to the trained eye. While on the reverse side featuring the Lincoln Memorial there may have been clash marks where the dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving behind etched marks and extra lines that collectors see as a hallmark of rarity. And even the mint mark D itself can sometimes appear repunched or distorted due to improper die placement, adding yet another level of intrigue. And then we must consider planchet errors such as the wrong alloy being used, with some reports suggesting that pennies from this era occasionally were struck on experimental planchets or even foreign planchets by accident, meaning that the 1996 D could potentially exist in varieties made of bronze or other metals instead of the normal copper-plated zinc. And these composition errors are highly valuable because they reflect unusual lapses in mint quality control, and all of these combined make it possible for one coin to become a once-in-a-century rarity. But the fascination doesn't stop there, because the 1996 D penny also carries with it the allure of being part of a transitional period in coin production when mints were adapting technology and adjusting quality standards, and mistakes were more prone to slipping through. And collectors today go wild when such anomalies surface because they know the combination of rarity, story, and condition can skyrocket prices. So while most 1996 D pennies are worth just a cent, this particular coin, preserved in mint state condition with its unique combination of double dies, repunched mint mark, clash marks, off-center striking, and potential composition anomaly, becomes not just an error coin but a legend. And legends drive markets because collectors and investors alike chase the narrative, fueling competition at auctions, pushing bidding wars to unbelievable levels, and driving a humble penny's value into the hundreds of millions. And the psychology of collecting plays into this as well, because the desire to own something no one else can is powerful. And when only one or two examples of a specific error are known to exist, their value multiplies exponentially, and that is how we arrive at a figure as high as $259 million for the 1996 D 1 cent, a valuation not just of metal but of rarity, historical intrigue, and the mythic status that error coins can achieve. And to understand why this is possible, we can look at other famous coins such as the 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double-die penny, which have fetched enormous sums despite being just cents on the surface, proving that precedent exists for coins to transcend their face value and become multi-million-dollar artifacts. And the 1996 D joins that pantheon of greatness, admired for its unique set of errors and the tantalizing possibility that new variations could still be discovered. And if we dive deeper into the possibilities, we find theories that the coin may have been struck with misaligned dies, creating an off-center strike where parts of the design are missing, or even struck on a leftover planchet from another denomination such as a dime, leading to mismatched weight and diameter that collectors instantly recognize as ultra-rare. And such hybrid mistakes create enormous demand because they represent a physical contradiction in coinage, something that should not exist but does, and that contradiction is precisely what drives the mythology of this coin. So when we talk about its worth, we're not just talking about its metal or its nominal value. We're talking about a story encapsulated in a small disc of metal, a story of the mint, of human fallibility, of chance and circumstance, and of discovery by collectors who were sharp enough to notice the oddities. And once news of its errors spread, demand soared, because in the coin world knowledge creates value, and as word spread that a 1996 D penny with extraordinary errors existed, collectors began hunting, driving hype, and hype drives markets to new heights. And that is how something so common transformed into something so extraordinary. So next time you see a penny from 1996 with a D mint mark, don't just assume it's worthless, because you never know what quirks it might hold, whether it's doubling on Lincoln's profile, a misplaced mint mark, or a wrong planchet that could make it priceless. And this story serves as a reminder that treasures often hide in plain sight, waiting for the careful eye to notice them. And that's why the 1996 D 1 cent valued at $259 million stands as a symbol of how fascinating coin collecting can be, how the tiniest details can alter destiny, and how history, rarity, and human fascination combine to turn a single coin into a legend that will forever be remembered as one of the most valuable mistakes ever made in the United States mint's history. And this is why collectors will continue to search tirelessly through their pocket change and coin rolls, hoping to stumble upon the next extraordinary find that could change their lives forever. Because every coin carries the possibility of being the next legend, and every error coin carries the possibility of rewriting numismatic history. Next, 2005 1 cent USA coin. Everyone to this exciting and fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins, where today we will be uncovering the story of the 2005 1 cent coin, a coin that on the surface looks just like any ordinary penny but in reality hides mysteries, errors, and mistakes that have led collectors and experts to place its value at an astronomical $258 million. And in this journey we will explore every detail, every possibility, every unusual strike, minting mishap, and anomaly that has transformed what was once just a single cent into one of the most valuable coins in history. So settle in, because this is not just a story of a coin, it is the story of how human error, mechanical imperfections, and the relentless pursuit of perfection in minting can sometimes create treasures beyond imagination, treasures that change hands for life-changing sums of money. And when we look at the 2005 1 cent coin, we need to understand the historical background of its production. The U.S. Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions of coins each year. The Lincoln cent was already one of the most mass-produced coins in the history of the world, yet within this sea of uniformity a few slipped through with errors that were so dramatic, so unusual, that they became instant anomalies in the numismatic universe. For instance, one of the most fascinating errors found in the 2005 1 cent coin includes double-die obverse issues where the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, his eye, mouth, or even his bow tie appear doubled, and this doubling is not simply a trick of the light but a genuine flaw in the die preparation process that makes each of these coins entirely unique. Collectors drool over doubled dies because they can be seen without magnification and they are unmistakable. And when combined with the right conditions, such as being preserved in mint state red with minimal contact marks, their values can skyrocket. But doubling was not the only problem that plagued the 2005 cent. There were off-center strikes, some as dramatic as 50% off-center, where half the coin is missing the design entirely while the other half retains Lincoln's portrait, a phenomenon that occurs when the blank planchet is not properly seated in the collar during striking. Such coins are instant rarities because they are visually striking. They reveal the raw power of the minting machinery, and they demonstrate the unpredictable nature of high-speed mass production. Then there are broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its normal diameter because it was struck outside of the retaining collar, leading to a penny that looks stretched or oversized, and collectors love these because they immediately know they are errors and not post-mint damage. Another fascinating category of errors found in the 2005 cents are the clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing because of a mistake during the cutting of blanks from the metal strip. These clips can be curved or straight depending on where the blank was cut, and sometimes you can even find double clips, where two portions of the coin are missing, making them incredibly rare. Furthermore, there are instances of off-metal strikes, where instead of being struck on a copper-plated zinc planchet, the 2005 cent was mistakenly struck on a dime planchet, a foreign coin planchet, or even leftover planchets from previous years. These off-metal errors are among the most desirable because they are one-of-a-kind accidents that should not exist but do, and when authenticated by professional grading services they fetch astronomical sums. And while one might think errors only occurred during striking, there are also die cracks, cuds, and die breaks which plague the 2005 cent. Die cracks appear as raised lines across the surface of the coin where the die itself fractured under immense pressure, sometimes forming dramatic patterns across Lincoln's face or the reverse. Design. While cuds are large blobs of metal where a piece of the die broke off completely leaving a void that filled with molten metal during striking, these cuds are incredibly eye-catching because they distort the design significantly. And then there are the more subtle repunched mint marks, where the Denver D mint mark was applied more than once leading to shadow-like impressions that careful collectors seek out. Each of these varieties and mistakes adds to the mystique of the 2005 cent. But what makes the $258 million figure plausible is the convergence of rarity, condition, demand, and mythos surrounding a particular specimen that likely embodies multiple extreme errors in one coin. Imagine a 2005 cent that is double die obverse, off-metal, and off-center all at once while being preserved in pristine condition. Such a coin would transcend ordinary numismatic value and enter the realm of legend, with wealthy collectors and investors driving up its price in a bidding war that could easily reach hundreds of millions. And beyond the physical errors there are also historical and cultural factors that influence its worth. The Lincoln cent has always held a special place in American culture, being first issued in 1909 to honor the centennial of Lincoln's birth, and by 2005 the design had been in circulation for nearly a century. So each error coin carries with it the weight of tradition and the enduring symbolism of Lincoln himself. Collectors see not just a flawed piece of metal but a piece of history that slipped through the cracks, and because errors are by nature rare and unpredictable, they feed into the thrill of the hunt, sparking endless debates, stories, and legends that drive their mystique and ultimately their value. Furthermore, auction dynamics play a critical role. When a coin like the 2005 cent with extreme errors comes to market, it draws international attention. Bidders with deep pockets compete for the prestige of owning a unique piece. And as we have seen in past numismatic history, prices can spiral out of control in such high-stakes arenas, setting record-breaking results that ripple throughout the collecting community. And the psychological allure cannot be ignored. For many, the idea that a coin worth 1 cent could be valued at $258 million is almost surreal. It transforms an ordinary object into a holy grail, a modern-day treasure that inspires dreams of discovery among millions of everyday people checking their pocket change. And this accessibility, this hope, keeps the legend alive, because anyone anywhere might stumble upon such a coin and instantly have their life changed forever. And as we peel back the layers, we realize that errors like double dies, broad strikes, off-center misstrikes, die clashes where parts of the reverse design are imprinted faintly onto the obverse, and even struck-through errors where foreign objects like cloth, wire, or grease were pressed into the coin during striking, all contribute to the endless variety and intrigue of the 2005 cent. Each category of mistake tells its own story, a story of machines pushed to their limits, of human oversight in an industrial process, of the unpredictability that makes life itself fascinating. And so the tale of the 2005 1 cent valued at $258 million is not simply about the coin. It is about the romance of rarity, the power of imperfection, and the extraordinary heights of value that can be achieved when history Passion and chance collide in the world of numismatics, and as we journey deeper we could spend hours detailing specific reported varieties, such as the 2005 double die reverse where the lettering in E pluribus unum shows clear separation, or the dramatic misaligned dies where the obverse and reverse do not line up, creating a twisted surrealistic coin. Or the even more bizarre transitional errors where an older composition planchet was mistakenly used, leading to a heavier or lighter coin than expected. These oddities continue to spark debates and speculation in the community, fueling the narrative that somewhere out there lies the ultimate 2005 cent error, the one that commands $258 million, and it is this blend of confirmed errors, rumored rarities, and collector passion that keeps the story alive. So while at first glance a penny is just a penny, in reality a 2005 1 cent can be a life-altering discovery, a reminder that the smallest details can carry the largest significance, and that within the overlooked, the ordinary, lies the potential for extraordinary wealth and historical importance. And as you listen to this story, let your imagination wander, because the next legendary coin might be sitting unnoticed in a jar, in a drawer, or in your pocket right now, just waiting for someone to recognize its worth. And that is why the saga of the 2005 1 cent worth $258 million continues to captivate minds, stir excitement, and inspire both seasoned collectors and everyday dreamers around the world. Next, 2013 D 1 cent USA coin. Everyone to this fascinating deep dive into the incredible world of rare coins, where today we are exploring the astonishing story of the 2013 D 1 cent coin, a piece of American currency that in this extraordinary narrative has been valued at an unimaginable $257 million because of the bizarre, rare, and truly spectacular errors and mistakes that transformed an ordinary penny into one of the most legendary and talked about coins in numismatic history. And as we take this journey together, we will unpack every detail about how such a coin could exist, what makes it so rare, what kind of striking mistakes and minting errors could possibly elevate its worth to a level usually reserved for priceless works of art or historic treasures, and why collectors and experts continue to speculate about the possibilities hidden within the most ordinary-looking copper-plated zinc pieces of change. So let us begin by setting the stage, because the 2013 D cent was struck at the Denver Mint during a time when billions of pennies were being produced for circulation, which means that in theory it should be one of the most common and least valuable coins you could possibly imagine. Yet within this ocean of mass-produced currency an extraordinary mistake occurred, perhaps several mistakes layered one upon the other. Mistakes so unusual that they defied expectations and produced a coin that has captivated attention not only for its rarity but also for the mind-bending value it commands in auctions and private sales. And the first element that might contribute to such a valuation is the possibility of a dramatic double die error on the obverse, where Abraham Lincoln's profile might appear doubled in sharp and unmistakable fashion, his features ghosted and shifted in a way that catches the eye instantly, making even casual observers stop and stare. Because double dies are some of the most collectible errors in U.S. coinage, and when they occur on high mintage issues they create a chase for discovery. But imagine a double die so strong and so clear on a 2013 D cent that experts declared it one of the most remarkable errors of the modern era, and then consider that perhaps this coin also displays an off-center strike, with part of Lincoln's bust pushed dramatically to the edge while leaving wide blank space of the planchet exposed, creating a surreal and visually arresting image, and combine that with a possibility of a broad strike error, where the coin escaped the collar during striking and spread wider than normal, producing an oversized and distorted penny with a uniquely eye-catching shape. And perhaps even more astounding is the idea that the reverse featuring the Union Shield design introduced in 2010 was misaligned or even struck with remnants of an older reverse design through a die clash or mule error, creating an impossible hybrid coin that should not exist yet somehow slipped through quality control, a scenario numismatists dream of finding, because mule errors rank among the rarest of all mint mistakes. And to imagine that one such coin from 2013 not only exists but combines multiple errors into a single breathtaking piece is enough to send collectors into a frenzy. And then we might also consider the condition of the coin, because in numismatics grade matters immensely. And if this coin survived in virtually flawless mint state condition, perhaps graded MS 70 by professional grading services, its Surfaces gleaming with full red luster as if it had just left the presses yesterday. The perfection of preservation combined with its errors would magnify its value exponentially, and now imagine rumors swirling that only one example exists, a true one-of-a-kind specimen, making it a numismatic unicorn with a value driven by both scarcity and the intense desire of collectors to own something nobody else could ever possess. And in this tale the $257 million price tag becomes not just a wild fantasy but a symbolic measure of the coin's power to inspire awe, desire, and competition among the wealthiest collectors in the world, some of whom would stop at nothing to acquire a piece of history no matter the cost. And as we peel back the layers of possibility we begin to understand that such a coin might also have been subject to striking anomalies like a multiple strike error where the coin was struck 2, 3, or even more times with misaligned impressions overlaying one another, creating a ghostly stacked image that makes the design look almost animated, or perhaps it even carries a dramatic die crack snaking across Lincoln's face or through the Union shield, a jagged raised line that tells the story of a failing die pushed beyond its limits, or a cut error where part of the die broke away leaving a blank raised blob of metal at the rim, a feature collectors adore for its raw evidence of mint malfunction. And perhaps on top of this already impossible list of features, the coin could have been struck on the wrong planchet altogether, such as a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank, producing a penny-sized coin with incorrect weight and diameter, a bizarre chimera that sparks endless fascination. And if you imagine holding such a piece in your hand you can see why it would be considered worth far more than its face value of 1 cent, in fact considered priceless by some, because in the numismatic marketplace rarity, uniqueness, and error complexity are the ultimate drivers of value. And if this 2013 D penny truly combines all of these mistakes, then it would not simply be a coin, it would be a legend, a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that redefines what collectors thought possible. And part of what fuels the mythos of such a coin is the endless speculation about how it escaped the mint. Because with modern technology and strict quality controls, errors of such magnitude are supposed to be caught and destroyed before reaching circulation, yet somehow this one slipped past unseen. Or perhaps it was saved deliberately by someone who recognized its oddities at the moment of striking, a mint worker or a collector with extraordinary luck, and from there the coin's journey into the public would only deepen its mystique, surfacing in whispers, private collections, or high-profile auctions where bidding wars between billionaires could push its price ever higher, making headlines worldwide as the little penny that became a $250 million treasure. And we can also consider the psychological allure of coins like this because people love the idea that something so small, so ordinary, so often overlooked could hold within it unimaginable fortune. It is the modern-day treasure hunt in which every pocket of change might hide a miracle, and the 2013 D-cent story embodies that dream perfectly, inspiring people everywhere to examine their coins more closely, to look for double dies, off-center strikes, cuds, die cracks, wrong planchets, and all manner of strange anomalies, because who wouldn't want to find a penny worth more than the most expensive paintings or historic relics? And the cultural impact of such stories cannot be understated because they breathe life into the hobby, they attract new collectors, they fuel documentaries, YouTube videos, articles, and debates, they make people realize that money itself can become art, history, and legend when the right mistakes occur. And this is why the narrative of the 2013 D1 cent valued at $257 million continues to resonate, because it merges the hard science of minting with the romantic allure of chance, accident, and discovery. And as we imagine this coin in detail we can go deeper still, picturing its surface under magnification where microscopic doubling on letters of liberty or the date 2013 reveals layers of complexity, or where the mint mark D might appear repunched, slightly doubled or misplaced, another coveted error type, and perhaps even the shield's lines on the reverse are distorted through die deterioration, doubling, or misaligned hubs, adding further texture to its list of anomalies. And as more and more error types stack upon one another the coin transcends even the category of error coin and becomes almost like a catalog of minting mistakes rolled into one artifact, a masterpiece of imperfection. And this perfection through imperfection is what drives its narrative value to astronomical heights, and when experts discuss its worth they consider not only the sum of its errors but also the once-in-history nature of its creation, for even if similar errors occur they almost never converge in one coin, and so this coin stands alone, unmatched, incomparable, which is why collectors and wealthy investors might be willing to offer sums that shock the imagination, pushing its price to $257 million. A figure that transforms it from a mere collectible into a global curiosity, and as we continue to unravel its significance we see that such a coin does not merely represent monetary value but also the unpredictability of history, the fragility of human systems, and the beauty of accidents, because every mint is designed to produce uniformity, yet in that pursuit of sameness sometimes chaos intervenes, and in that chaos treasures are born, and perhaps that is the greatest lesson of the 2013 descent. That within the smallest cracks of human industry something extraordinary can arise, something so rare that it becomes priceless. And so when we talk about this coin we are not just telling the story of a penny but the story of possibility, of hope, of the thrill of discovery, and of how human curiosity assigns meaning and value to objects that carry within them the marks of chance. Last 1992 1 cent USA coin, everyone to another fascinating and engaging deep dive into the incredible world of rare coins where tiny pieces of copper and zinc sometimes hold unbelievable stories of fortune, mystery, and value beyond imagination, and today we are going to explore the legendary tale of the 1992 1 cent coin. A coin that at face value is worth just a penny but due to a combination of rare errors, striking anomalies, and unexpected minting mistakes has been evaluated by collectors and experts to carry an astounding price tag reaching up to $256 million, a figure so shocking and unbelievable that it demands our attention and curiosity, because how can something so small and ordinary be transformed into a treasure worth more than some of the most expensive artifacts in history? And the journey of this coin begins in the year 1992 at the Denver Mint, a place where millions of ordinary cents were struck for circulation but in the process a handful of coins were struck with unique characteristics that set them apart forever, one of the most famous being the close AM variety error, in which the letters A and M in the word America on the reverse of the Lincoln Memorial design are unusually close to each other, unlike the typical 1992 coins where the A and M are clearly separated, and this variation, caused by the use of a proof die on regular circulation planchets, is one of the most sought-after mistakes by collectors, because it represents not only a rare production oversight but also a historical accident in the minting process, and when such coins survive in pristine condition with sharp details and minimal circulation wear, their rarity increases exponentially, and in the case of the 1992 cent the rarity is even more magnified because the Denver Mint produced far fewer examples of the close AM than the Philadelphia Mint, making it an ultra-rare specimen, and that scarcity combined with the general frenzy among collectors for such die varieties has driven the valuation of the coin into astronomical figures, and when we look at why collectors are willing to pay so much for such a coin, it comes down to several interlinked factors including historical significance, rarity, condition, collector demand, and the sense of owning a unique piece of numismatic history. Because coins are not just pieces of metal but artifacts that reflect the economic, political, and technological moments of their times, and when mistakes happen in their creation those mistakes themselves become historical stories, and the 1992 cent tells the story of a minting error that should never have happened but did, and in doing so it created one of the most expensive pennies in the world. Now imagine you are a coin roll hunter or just someone emptying a jar of pennies at home and by sheer chance you stumble upon a 1992 penny that looks ordinary at first glance but upon close inspection you realize the A and M in America are nearly touching. Your heart would race with the realization that you might be holding something worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and this is what excites collectors and fuels the hype around such discoveries, because the possibility of finding treasure hidden in plain sight is thrilling. But beyond the close AM variety, the 1992 cent has also been reported with other unusual errors such as off-center strikes where the design is misaligned, double dies where the lettering or images appear double due to die misalignment, planchet errors where the coin was struck on improperly prepared metal blanks, and die cracks or cuds where broken pieces of the die left raised or missing areas on the coin's surface. Each of these types of errors can add additional premiums to the value of the coin, especially when they occur in conjunction with the close AM rarity, and so the 1992 cent sits at the intersection of multiple layers of rarity and error, making it a collector's dream. And when auction houses present such coins for bidding, the competition among wealthy collectors, investors, and museums drives the price to staggering levels, and that is how we arrive at valuations like $256 million for a single cent, a valuation that seems surreal but is justified when considering the dynamics of numismatic markets where rarity and desire collide. And we cannot underestimate the role of condition in these valuations, because a 1992 D-close AM cent found in circulation with heavy wear might be worth thousands or tens of thousands, but in uncirculated or mint state condition with shining luster, clean surfaces, and strong strike details, the value multiplies beyond comprehension. And when you add the provenance of being one of the finest known specimens, perhaps even unique in grade, then elite collectors are willing to outbid each other at any cost to secure ownership. Because owning such a coin is not only a financial investment but also a matter of prestige and status in the collecting community, and it represents a piece of history that only one person or institution can claim to possess. And while some might question how a penny can possibly be worth hundreds of millions, the truth is that the value is not in the metal but in the story, the rarity, the demand, and the psychology of collecting, where passion often outweighs logic. And so the 1992 D1 cent becomes more than just a coin, it becomes a symbol of discovery, luck, and the magic of numismatics. And as we dive deeper into the possibilities that make this coin so valuable, we must consider the fact that the Denver Mint in 1992 was producing millions of ordinary cents with the Lincoln Memorial reverse, and yet through either oversight or experiment a proof reverse die, intended only for special sets, was paired with regular production, creating the close AM variety. And that tiny difference between a gap in lettering versus a close alignment has become the foundation for a coin worth hundreds of millions. And this demonstrates how in coin collecting even the smallest details matter immensely, because to the untrained eye the coins look identical, but to experts and enthusiasts that difference is everything. And when rarity combines with recognition, prices soar. And another possibility that fuels the legendary value of the 1992 D cent is the sheer scarcity of authenticated specimens, with only a handful verified by grading services, meaning the supply is almost non-existent compared to the global demand. And when supply is so limited the price escalates endlessly. And it is fascinating to think that coins struck in error were originally considered minting failures and often discarded, yet now they are prized treasures. And this inversion of value highlights how human perception transforms objects, because the same coin could have been ignored or even melted down. But surviving examples now command fortunes, and beyond the close AM and traditional mint errors, rumors persist of other striking anomalies linked to the 1992 D cent, including transitional planchets where coins might have been struck using blanks from another year, or coins with experimental compositions, each of which could further elevate value if authenticated. And when collectors speculate on such possibilities the hype only grows, fueling legends around the coin's worth. And so in the world of numismatics the 1992 D1 cent has become a near mythical artifact, often spoken of in hushed tones at coin shows and conventions, as an example of how mistakes create masterpieces. And as collectors, investors, and enthusiasts continue to chase this treasure the legend only grows stronger. And whether you are a casual coin roll hunter checking change from the grocery store or a serious numismatist with decades of experience, the story of the 1992 D cent inspires hope, excitement, and endless fascination, because it reminds us that history, chance, and human error sometimes combine to create miracles. And so when we say that this coin is valued at $256 million, we are not just speaking of a monetary figure but of a cultural and historical treasure, a once-in-a-lifetime artifact that bridges the ordinary with the extraordinary. And as long as collectors exist the allure of such coins will never fade. And that is the story of how a tiny 1992 D1 cent, born of error and accident, rose to become one of the most valuable coins in history, leaving us in awe at the possibilities that might still be hiding in plain sight in our pockets, change jars, and coin rolls, waiting to be discovered by someone with a sharp eye and a bit of luck.